In the name of our ancestors, peace forever and always, and welcome to another edition of what we call the Reality's Temple on Earth Internet Ministry. I am the gatekeeper, host of this program, known here on social media. Wherever you may find me, I am known as the mighty Angel Snub 7. I am your soul brother number 1. We want to answer an email that brings us a question I probably have already answered many times, and we're going to do it again. So shout out to the person who sent us this email, who is new to our platform, who after listening to this commentary may decide to leave us alone. Because here we have to keep it real. And if we are not willing to let go some of these pseudo fairy tales, unrealistic beliefs, we cannot move forward, because the situation that we find ourselves in is real. And a unrealistic, fictional fairy tale mindset cannot produce a appropriate solution to the problem, because the problem is real. A fictional solution cannot fix a real problem. So this is why we find ourselves in the position that we're in, because we're not keeping it real. So let me see here. Hi, soul brother number 1. I wanted you to speak on the creator I am. I would assume the black man is God. We're the creator. I am the ancestors. We are the ancestors. And how should we communicate with them? And I would like to know who is truly an ancestor. I'm going to have to go back to this email so I make sure that I cover all this inquiry. I want to begin like this. Uh-oh, I don't want to lose that. Okay, here we go. A few months back, I went along with a relative to the cemetery so that we may, or I wanted to, experience relatives or learn about relatives I did not know in life. My great-grandmother, great-great-grandparents, and things of this nature, and visit the site of my grandmother, of whom I did know, and my uncle and some other relatives that I did know, but many of them, I was a child, I wasn't born when they passed this life. And we went back and forth to the cemetery for about 2 weeks straight. And we visited the sites, the grave sites of where our relatives were buried. In the whole 2 weeks, none of them tried to communicate with us. Not one. I did not mind communication with somebody who was not a relative. Nobody in the cemetery tried to communicate, tried to tell us nothing. That alone should tell us something. Before my mother passed, before my uncle passed, and there was a preacher friend of mine who is no longer with us, and his wife. They told me if there was any way they could communicate with us, they would. There was a famous magician that does magic, does illusions. His name was Harry Houdini. And he told his wife upon his death, if there's any way I can contact you, communicate with you, I would do so. So when he died, she put a candle. She lit a candle every Halloween. So that would be a sign for him to now communicate with her. And of course, time passes on. And she waited, and she waited, and she waited until she stopped lighting the candle. So, can we communicate with those of whom have passed this life? Now, my question is, if we can't communicate, all the millions of people who have passed this life, who we know, we don't know it, ancestors. I never knew my great-grandmother, great-great-grandmother. I never knew them. But I knew the preacher, I knew my uncle, I know my mom. And if we cannot communicate with those we knew, how do you communicate with those of whom you never knew, who you claim was a relative? How do you know it's not old Massa John pretending to be one of your relatives? How do you know? Because you never knew them. You never knew many of us never knew our great-great-great-grandfathers and mothers and people from the 1800s, the 1700s, 1600s, 1500s or whatever. We don't know nothing about them. And if you're communicating with them, how do you know it's not old Massa John? Massa John who enslaved them, or some other riffraff, Al Capone, John Dillinger, or some Bonnie and Clyde or somebody. How do you know? We are taught to believe that this body is flesh and that there is a spirit that resides in the flesh. We have no scientific, we have no evidence of that. That's what we're taught, that's what we believe. So this is what this is based upon. That there's some kind of spirit, that there's some kind of soul. This flesh and blood body is not really who we are, but there's some type of soul, there's some type of spirit that lives in this flesh. So, I raise a question. What is this spirit made out of? We know what flesh is made out of. Flesh and blood. What is this spirit made out of? Air? Well, we know what air is. We know what a lot of invisible gases and things, we know what they are. We know about that. There are many things that the physical eye cannot see. There's many things that we cannot detect. But we have machines and we have microscopes and we have these different ways to show that even the invisible, these germs and viruses, we can show that they exist. This is 2025. And we have rockets going out into space or orbiting the earth or whatever. We have all this technology, artificial intelligence, and we have so many things we don't even know nothing about. But yet, nobody can show the existence of this soul. I don't never hear people in the morgue talk about, well, I saw the spirit leave the body. I never hear doctors, people that's in hospice. You never hear them talk about, well, no, they talk about the last breath, but they never said, well, I saw the soul, I saw the spirit leave the body, that they actually was able to see it, or there's no machine that can detect it. So how do we know that it even exists? It's just the belief. So if you believe in something, your mind can actually make you imagine it and bring it to life for you. Because if I believe in that, my experience is going to be different from yours because my brain is going to give me a different version of that belief than you are. But if it was real, just like when they discovered carbon monoxide, all of us are going to experience the same thing. May you never experience carbon monoxide in your house. It all affects us the same way. But in a dream, when our own individual brains decide to make this real for us, all our experience, it may be similar, but it's going to be different. It's according to how our brain presents it to us. If you notice, when the brain goes into disrepair, you don't hear people talk about spirits and spooks. You don't see people with dementia, people that begin to suffer brain problems. You don't hear them talking about spirits and spooks because now their brain don't function on the level where they can continue to make that belief their reality for them, not for nobody else. So what is this spirit made out of? And if you can tell us what this spirit is made out of, chances are somebody, not me, I'm not smart enough, but somebody can develop a machine that can detect and show us these things. There are people right now who claim such. You can claim anything. And as far as we know, it's all quackery. But people who practice quackery understand that you want to believe this. So they try to make it real for you. Just like this African DNA stuff. They know that you've been taught and you conditioned, I'm an African or whatever. So they make up these bogus tests when science tells us it's only so far they can take the DNA. They cannot go back hundreds and hundreds, thousands of years. And even so, you're not part of that no more. Because even in religion, they say, like in Islam, after a certain amount of generations, is no longer Muhammad. So after a certain amount of generations, you're no longer part of that no more. It's like starting all over again. So how do we communicate with the spirit world? Because this is the flesh. And we know that the flesh we have vocal cords. The flesh, the body. How does the spirit, how does this soul, how does it speak? It must have some type of vocal cords. But we don't know that because we've never had one spirit. We haven't had not one soul out of all the billions of people that have died on this planet. We don't have not one spirit, not one soul that we can examine to see how do a spirit talk without vocal cords. And vocal cords work in a certain manner. And why do these spirits, this soul, many claim they saw their grandmother. They saw one of their relatives that has departed. And they always describe the spirit in the same manner that they remember the relative that passed. She was wearing her favorite dress. He was wearing his favorite cap. When do spirits and the soul, why do they need clothes? Where did they get this clothing? Because we know that grandma, she had her favorite Walmart dress. So you mean to tell me there's a Walmart in the spirit world? And why is grandma, grandpa, why don't you call them it? Because a spirit don't need a penis. A spirit don't need a vagina. So this is what the physical body is. Once that spirit, that soul leave the body, it's neither male or female because a spirit don't need to reproduce. So the spirit is not male or female any longer. It's just this energy. And sometimes they describe energy as male or female, but that's just to give a description of the negative and the positive and whatever, because we know energy does not have genitalia. Energy does not reproduce. The male energy needs to mate with the female energy, all the feminine energy. People always talk about masculine energy, feminine. There's no such thing. If so, somebody help me, okay? Is that light male or female? Can you tell me which one? Because that light is energy. Is it male or female? How can I tell? We believe in nonsensical things. So again, how do we communicate with that what we don't know? How do you know that's a relative? Even if we did communicate, how will we know that's a relative? Because when you talk about ancestors, the majority of the ones you talking about, you never knew, don't know. And the ones you do know, don't give a damn about. Because you actually knew them. You don't care nothing about Uncle John. You knew Uncle John. Uncle John was a drunk. You don't go to his grave. When we went to the cemetery, you didn't see no long lines of people trying to go see somebody that's their burial site. Well, they're not there no more. Their spirit, whatever. But that's the last place you knew they was. And since wherever they are, you know they can come back to that place because that's the known area where you left them. The whole thing don't make any sense. You know they no longer exist. You can pretend, and sometimes we want to believe. And you can believe anything that you want to. It does not make it real. And you can pretend to communicate with somebody. Because your brain, if you believe in it enough, your brain will manufacture the scenario. You will dream about it. Sometimes it will appear not only at night or in a dream, it will appear in daylight. Because I know it's happened to me. I had a person that I was very in love with. Who I considered a father figure, and he was gone. And I wanted to see him, and the image actually appeared in broad daylight. I saw him. He was wearing his favorite black jacket, and he was talking, but I could not hear. There was no sound. I could see his mouth moving. He was talking. This is what I saw in broad daylight. So your brain can make up, if you believe enough, your brain can make you dream, actually can make you experience. But how do you experience that which you don't know? You've never seen these ancestors. And then if you do see them, how do you know you're related? We don't know that. How do you know? It could be somebody else's relative playing a trick on you. How do you know? You never met them. You don't know. When we talk all this ancestor stuff, the majority of the time, they're talking about ancestors who they can brag about. Oh, the Egyptians built the pyramids, or they created civilization. They don't talk about the average, ordinary, poor person like we are in this country. The average person does not do nothing extraordinary. We just come here, live our life, and die. We don't invent nothing. We come here, work, make babies, and die. That's all. That's all most of us gonna do. We come here, some of us will make babies, and we die. We give our bodies for somebody to make money off of, and then we might be able to retire. And then by the time you retire, you only got a few years left and you're dead. You live for the benefit of somebody else. That's normal. We view that as that's normal living. And we spit out more babies so they can live the incredible, happy, joy life that we have experienced. We don't like talking about our ancestors if they were slaves. It's a possibility they could have been homosexual, some of them. Liars, murderers, pedophiles, killers, drunks. When you talk about ancestors, You're not talking about that. But they're your ancestors. People have been telling lies for generations. People have been murdering. Men been raping women. All types of evil and low down dirty stuff. For generations. And your relatives was not holy and righteous. That's a myth. There's no time in human history that we know of where everybody was goody two shoes, holy and righteous. Never been a time. Not in recorded history. In your imagination, some fictional world. Because how can you get evil? How can you get a murderer out of a society that is, what's the word I'm looking for? This utopia. You can't, because it never was a utopia. There's no evidence of any human, regardless of race, there's nowhere on the planet of some utopia. In some primitive societies, you might come close. But we know in civilization, and civilization is a baby compared to how long humanity has been on this planet. There's been no utopia as far as civilization is concerned. In fact, there's nothing civil about civilization. Civilization is birth due to violence. Civilization is the beginning of taking our individual independence away from us. Now we are dependent upon whoever is in power, in the dominant seat. When all of us have the right to be able to have our own little piece of land, be able to access any kind of resource that we want to live, that's our right. As they would say, that's your God-given right. All that has been taken away from you. And women have been put in a position to be the servant to the man. Do all the labor in the house. He go out, work 8 hours or 12 hours or whatever, and the woman is expected to take care of babies and clean your nasty drawers and take care of baby doo-doo, even take care of the dog if you got one. All that falls on her. She becomes a servant. And this mentality is not going good with modern day women. I'm not doing that no more. I'm not your damn slave. And these guys who are traditional don't understand. I don't want to be your damn slave. Because many of these women, they work also. I got to go, as a woman, I got to go to work. I got to clean these babies up. I got to wash the bathtub out. All these different chores, blah, blah, blah. Only thing the guy got to do is take out the trash, do his 12 hours. Her chores never stop. Never ending. That's not fair. But that's what happened in civilization when the man or men forced their will upon women and made a slave out of her. Another question I would like to raise is, why didn't the ancestors of slaves and other melanated atrocities, why didn't they help them? In this country, the United States, where were their ancestors? Didn't help them. 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 100, 200 years. Where was their ancestors at? Here we are talking about the ancestors going to help us do this and the ancestors going to help us do that. Why their ancestors, before we even came into existence, how come their ancestors did not help them? But all of a sudden, our ancestors, of whom we knew that we know were slaves or under some type of great oppression, when they didn't help us. The only one that helped us change was the living. And there are many living ancestors, but you don't give a damn about the living. You like talking about dead folks because you can paint your ancestors any way that you want to. You don't have to talk about the drunks and the killers and the pedophiles and all the riffraff, because they was nothing but human beings, the liars, the slanderers, the cheaters. You don't mention them, but they existed. Common sense tell me they existed, because it continues right now as we speak. Everybody not great. No, everybody not building pyramids and all this holy and righteous and thou stuff. That's not real. Where is this power from these dead folks? I would like for just one come to this live stream right now and come talk to us. Just one of y'all. Where you at? Just one out of the millions, billions who have died. You don't have to even be related to me. Just one of y'all come and communicate and talk to me right now. They're not going to show up because that's over. You don't have no respect for the living, and the only one that can change your condition, the only one that can help us is the living. Malcolm X cannot help us. Dr. King cannot help us. H. Rap Brown, Assata Secure, they no longer can try to help us. We have to help ourselves like they did when they were living. You have no respect for the living. This fantasy world, and you can paint the dead or the dying any way that you want to. Feel good rhetoric. Make you feel good. Feel good doesn't change nothing. Beautiful words and rhetoric don't change nothing. It just makes you feel good. For those of you who have not heard our Soul Liberation Day 2026 message, I would hope that you would give us an opportunity to share that message with you. The topic that we chosen for Soul Liberation Day 2026 was, do Black Americans deserve the promised land that Dr. King spoke of? Nobody dead is going to help us. Ain't no spirits, ain't no ancestors, none of that stuff. This is a brand new day, brand new time. And we got to do it. We learn from the history that they left. We learn from their mistakes. We learn from their successes. And we keep moving. The living. And the same thing happened to them. No ancestors helped them or did nothing. It's all about human interaction, the human dynamic, who are alive. It's like oil and water. Oil and water do not mix. The dead and the living do not mix. That's why you're not in the graveyard. And that's why many of you don't want to go to the graveyard. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. That's why you don't go. You might go, pay your respects, and get the hell out of there. Because some of you might really believe a ghost and a goblin gonna get you. There's no power. So the email mentions about a creator, or we being the creator. That's a title. We love titles. So being a police person, I'm a policeman. That's a title. I'm a teacher. I'm a truck driver. These are titles. So you want to embrace, I'm a creator. Because many of us are taught the black man is God and we so powerful. How are you a creator and somebody made a slave out of you? How are you a creator when you don't even give value to the money in your pocket? You can't even bring water into your house. You paying utility bills. Mr. Creator, Mrs. Creator. You're paying utility bills. What is it that you create except chaos, misinformation, foolishness, fairy tales and fantasy? That's what you create. Silliness. You don't create nothing else. Where is your nuclear facility, Mr. Creator? The cars that you build. The aircraft that takes you into outer space. You're a creator. You're taking on these titles, but you don't have to do a damn thing. I'm a creator. What have you created? Well, you know, brother, the black man is God. We created the universe. And you can barely pay your utility bill. But you create the universe and the sun and whatever. The average person don't even know how a computer works. You don't know how a light bulb works. You don't know how your telephone works. You don't know that, but you're a creator. The black man is God. You know all these different things. We like being silly and childish, feeling good. And folks, when we tell people, you know, the black man is God and we do this, they just sit back in the cut and laugh. You don't have a pot to piss in, but you're the God of the universe. I'm the Asiatic black man. I'm the God of the universe. And you paying utility bill. You catching the bus to go to work. Mr. Black man is God. You sending another man because he can run his mouth. You sending him cash out because you think he's better than you. He give you because the only thing he's doing is feeding your ego because he knows you suffer from low self-esteem, and he gets rich selling you fairy tales and fairy tale stories. You can believe that you're a creator. That's cool. The problem is when somebody asks you to prove it, show us your power. You can't show them nothing. Well, there go the sun. Well, show us your power. Are we the ancestors? Well, we know we have ancestors. All of us come from a mother and father. So all of us, we have ancestors. There's no doubt about that. There's no proof, no evidence that none of us can communicate with those that we never knew. Have no idea. There are those who claim, but they offer no proof. But we want to believe. So they sell you lies. And you buy the lie. And you believe in the lie because it makes you feel good. especially when we are a people who've been on the bottom for generations. I'm the God. We made the sun. Our history goes back 76 trillion years ago. We like hearing this nonsense. And we know it's nonsense, but we want to believe because we suffer from low self-esteem. Instead of making something real for ourselves. So we can say, look at that building. Look at that lake. Look at that neighborhood. Look what we have done. Look at this country that we have built. It's easier just to believe I'm great instead of being great. Michael Jackson was called the greatest entertainer, not because he believed, because he made it real. There's nothing wrong with belief. We all have to believe in something. But when that belief clearly is not a reality, then we begin to fall into the category of insanity. Michael Jackson proved that he's worthy of the title, the King of Pop, the greatest entertainer that ever lived. His work supports the title. We are taking on these titles. There's no work. There's nothing to support what we say. Just feel good magic. We love fairy tales, but there is no work. And some of us, you're too proud to say, I don't know what to do to achieve that. And that's the main problem also. I want to call myself God. I want to call myself a creator. I want to be this greatness. I really don't know what to do. Well, first of all, it has to be realistic. Some things you will never be able to achieve. Let's just be real. A lot of the things that we say, it's not even realistic. Ain't no flesh and blood make no son. This flesh and blood ain't been around for no 76 trillion years. And all this other stuff that we believe in. And the spirit go out the body and you visit Dimension X and Dimension 24 and the black planet, Nubiana, all this stuff that we believe. So in conclusion, the last part of this email, who is truly an ancestor? The Black American. Soul brothers and sisters in this country. And actually in reality, modern people, most modern people are hybrids, mutations. The closest, to my knowledge, the closest original people on the planet are like the Twa or the Pygmy people, which nobody want to be related to. You never hear folks talk about the Twa, Pygmy people, and the Maasai, and perhaps some other primitive people in the jungles of Africa and Australia. You never hear them saying, these are my relatives. Here you are, 5'1", and you still don't claim the pygmies. They never, because they don't have that, they don't have something in their history you can brag about. Because you suffer from low self-esteem. But they're your relatives. You're not going to claim your drunk, crack fiend, Uncle Tope. Your prostitute, Annie. You're not going to claim. The only thing they want to do is talk about those who you feel, the baseball player that make $1 million. Those are the type of people, somebody that can help you with your low self-esteem. You don't want to talk about your relatives, but you talk ancestors. All the ancestors did not do anything great. The people that you talk about of greatness is only a small portion. The average person is average. Just like us. We're average. Come here, get a job, make some babies, and die. Average. You're not going to invent nothing. You're not going to leave your mark on society. You're going to go to your grave, and nobody's going to think about you no more. That's why you don't see nobody. And the children don't give a damn about the ancestors. Many of these children don't even give a damn about you, and you are alive. They don't care about you. Nursing home is $1 billion business. And that's where they're going to throw you. In a nursing home. So what make you think, what make you think they care anything about the ancestors? Ancestors not sending them nothing to their cash app. Paying a bill for them. They don't care. But the old heads still holding on to that nonsense. These children, nobody dead gonna do a damn thing for them. Especially when they never knew them anyway. You talk about the ancestors. Ancestors ain't did a damn thing for you or me. Their ancestors didn't help them. So who is our ancestors? And we take this African DNA test and all this other nonsense. Did you know that we carry 50% DNA, or we share the same DNA 50% with a banana? So why don't y'all talk about your banana relatives? It's not going to help you none. Talk about how your DNA is related to a banana. No more than talking about how your DNA, you related to some Africans from 5,000 years ago, or Native Americans, or you was a Moor, or you some ancient Hebrew Israelite. All that don't mean nothing. It don't help you none. This is a new day and a new time. A new day and a new time requires a new mindset, a new narrative, because that's what's keeping you in the graveyard, keeping you dead. With the relatives that's in the ground. And you just as dead as they are. It's just that the soul, the breath has not left your body. You're just as dead. The dead cannot change anything. The dead cannot move. The dead has no activity. And that's where you find yourself. You are dead. You have no activity. You don't know how to move. There's no life. There's no soul in you. There's no soul. that's why it's important as a symbol. This ministry calls us soul brothers and sisters so that it can bring life back into this body that has been made dead. So that you can become active and put your brain back online. Unclog your plumbing so new ideas, new thoughts, new water, let the rusty water run out of your plumbing so that you can get a clean drink. Something now that can give you life instead of death. Don't blame me. Your condition says it all. I didn't create the condition, but I understand what has really happened to us. And unlike European indoctrination, this pro-black scholarship, Afrocentric type scholarship, it was meant to help us. And it did its job when we had nothing. But we learned nothing and we didn't evolve. We still back there. We still in the 1920s, the 1930s, 40s, the 1970s. We have not updated ourselves. We're still using Windows 7. Microsoft no longer support Windows 7. They no longer support Windows 8, Windows 3.5 or whatever. You have no support. So you've been left behind. Your computer don't work. Your computer don't work properly. And that's what it's all about. And our ancestors cannot give us the update because it's over. Only the living can give us an update. And everything that you need is right here if you allow yourself to begin to think for yourself. And stop thinking in absolutes. Well, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teach. Well, Noble Drew Ali teach, and blah, blah, blah. They taught then. It's over. Many of the things that was taught in the past is relative. But now we have new information. You have to, with new information, you got to look at things differently. So, if we thought it was 1 and 1, now we discover there's a 3. You can't stay at 2 because now we discovered there's a 3. So we should be operating on the 5, not the 2. We have to update the system. Thank you for listening. Jot down your comments. And if I missed something, let me know. Anybody else want me to talk about a subject, I'll try to do that. And accept reality, my friend. It's much easier. And when you accept reality, you'll be shocked how quickly success comes to us. On that note, I wish you love, peace, and soul.